Hey, welcome to License to Spill, the podcast where two therapists get real about what healing actually looks like. I'm Julie.
I'm Kristina, and each week we break down therapy, mental health, relationships, and the emotional plot twists life throws at us, the way therapists talk about them when the session ends. We're honest, a little unhinged, sometimes funny, and always here to spill the tea, the therapeutic kind and the messy human kind. This podcast isn't therapy. It's two therapists helping you understand what's really going on.
So, Kristina, let's get into it.
All right, License to Spill episode 2. We're here, your favorite hosts, Kristina and
Julie.
Yeah. So our core talking points today: why New Year's resolutions often backfire. It's 2026. It's January 2. This is hot off the press, discussing why resolutions often backfire. So I know, Julie, you and I joked in the first episode about the gym enrollment. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, I think statistically at one point, the highest gym enrollments were in January, which makes sense. And by late January or March tends to be when the unenrollment starts to occur, but because people get back into the routine of the life they've been living.
Absolutely. Which kind of outlines some of the points that I want to make today with you. The life that they've already been living. So most resolutions that we hear, even in our sessions or through loved ones, or even just pop culture, there's this new year, new me mentality, which I hear that and I cringe every time. I'm like, every year, it started off as a joke, but I actually feel this way. New year, same me, because I don't want to let go of all the progress that I made in 2025. I want to bring it over with me to 2026 and all these other years that I've improved different parts of me. But to your point, back to the life that they're used to can be beneficial if you make micro changes. And so one of the things I was talking about with somebody on New Year's Eve was why resolutions backfire. And my perspective is that most resolutions are rooted in shame and not values.
I've never really thought about it that way, but that absolutely could be. Yeah.
I can give you an example. So when people start with, I should be better, should right there
Judgment.
is that shame. Yeah. Judgment. Yeah. I need to fix myself. I hate that I'm like this. And I hear a lot of goals being made from a place of self-criticism. And self-criticism, in my experience, doesn't really inspire growth. It triggers avoidance, burnout, or quitting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you encourage your let's say clients, or even if a friend tells you what their New Year's resolution is going to be, if you get over the cringe part when you hear resolution, like I have to,
I find myself, if this is what you're going to ask, I find myself bringing it back to what you just said, which is micro improvements. And sometimes I'll have to tell my client, what's something that you really enjoy doing that you get this, excited feeling in your body, whether it's like going to a concert or having a great conversation with somebody or a new wine, whatever it may be, remembering those feelings and not realizing that we can bring that amount of excitement, that feeling, into smaller things. What does it feel like to complete a puzzle? What does it feel like to do the dishes and have them done? Like, that's
I love that you're using
improvement.
those examples.
That's improvement. And
100%.
most clients see it so vastly black and white.
I agree.
Fail, pass,
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. Pass fail is exactly how I look at how people treat this. And I think a therapist's truth is when change is really successful or when it really sticks, it's when it's rooted in self-respect and not self-rejection. So I think when people, apply this idea, this subcontext of what resolutions should be able to do for them in their new life, right, into this new year's, they also ignore the capacity and contexts, right? So if people are setting goals, it's like they're setting these goals as if they're not already overwhelmed, or if they're not already like dysregulated, or if they don't have a lot of stuff going on. So they're like, it's January 1. I'm going to start that crazy crash fab diet so that I not only have a body of an Adonis by February, I'm also going to find the love of my life by Valentine's Day, because that's how it should roll.
So there's got to be some careful, nice way to change that dynamic versus, busting this guy's balloon of this is what I want to do.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because real life doesn't pause on January 1.
No, some people think it does, but it just doesn't.
Right. But you said something really important in the beginning of this. Your goal, it doesn't account for your actual life. So one of the things that you said was you have to make goals that fit your actual life. Right. So if you make
Realistic.
these goals realistic, right? If you make goals that don't fit your actual life, it's not a healthy goal. It can't be. There's no way for it to fit in.
Right. Or perhaps it would be a different prioritized goal, different category.
And making the assumption that they don't have anything else going on.
True. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all or nothing, like you said, sets people up to fail. It's not a pass fail experiment. It's not every day or nothing. There can be these micro moments like the dishes getting done, or what was the other example you used? Finishing a puzzle.
Absolutely. The feeling of putting that last piece in, like, I mean, who hasn't been like, yes, I found it. Fits right here after I shove it in really hard
I
to
can't
make
do puzzles
it.
in my house. The cats steal all the pieces.
Oh
So
yeah, that would be a
so
problem.
it is. But progress, basically what you're trying to say is progress requires flexibility, right? Not perfection.
Flexibility and awareness.
I agree. So uh when I guess the month of December, I guess the best way for me to explain this for our listeners, because not everybody that's listening is a client of mine, right? So the month of December I spend with my clients asking them to reflect on the past year on 22, so for this example 2025. Tell me all the things that you did accomplish this year. What are things you maintained from 2024? What are things that you improved on? And these can be micro improvements or major ones. And I ask them to reflect on the entire year before they even start to designate what a resolution is going to be.
That's great because it makes them pause for a moment
Exactly.
and actually think about these specific prompts that you're asking them that would otherwise just be, rolled over.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that. And I do that because I want my clients to not mix up what motivation is, because I feel like sometimes they confuse motivation with regulation, meaning it's almost like what they want to change deeply can feel stuck because they don't feel like they have a way of sustaining it. So then they push themselves through these issues or these particular goals, and then they become more dysregulated. So I want them to remember everything they've already done, all the good work that they have cultivated for the entire year before we start to look at or forecast what we want to call in.
I think that's awesome. I think
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. I wonder if people will tend to err on the positive side of things. I know we have this document within our system, but I'd be curious. Maybe we can all of us talk at some point as to what kind of answers we got.
Yeah, I what I do notice when I do that particular document that I share with my clients, either whether we do that in session or they do it at home and bring it in, what I notice, if I don't highlight some of the sections, like if I don't have a section that says family life, work, spiritual growth, personal development, career development, money, wealth, if I don't break those subjects down into those little subcategories, they'll gloss over stuff that they've accomplished. They don't even think about it as an accomplishment. It's an everyday constant for them sometimes, and it's not something that they highlight as an accomplishment that was maintained, which is why it's important to not confuse what you've maintained as, what's the word I'm looking for, as insignificant. It's very
Absolutely.
significant going into this year. So this way, when you're going into the new year, you're going into it with already a full bag
Hmm.
of all the
Hmm.
things that you've done, and you're going to go into the new year just adding to what you've already done, and instead of overhauling it, right?
Yeah, it creates a new baseline.
Exactly. So that we're not just focusing on the outcomes,
Definitely
because
not.
the outcomes don't just, because I feel like and I really feel like what's the word? Here's my age coming in, but I didn't grow up with social media like this. Like I didn't have this as a thing. I had the internet, but I was already in high school by the time it came out. So I was past the point of being too influenced by what we now call influencers. And so the resolutions often focus on outcomes instead of identity. And then what ends up happening is people become dysregulated and have their self-esteem torpedoed because they're looking at these very seamless edits of videos of people showing all these beautiful results in their lives that are heavily doctored and not true,
Absolutely.
which causes, I mean, I'm sure you could say what it causes.
Well, where are you going exactly with that?
Just like young people
Just
watching stuff like that.
it causes dis-ease. It causes a lot of chaos in their these developmental years, and they start to believe the lies that we put out for marketing,
Yep.
um,
Or
and or what?
I was thinking about some of the clients that we've discussed in the past who have unrealistic goals for themselves because it's never enough. The goalpost keeps moving, so they
Right.
never have the moment of gratitude of what they've already achieved, and that's just an elusive, what's the word, finish line for them. Just it's their ergo anxiety, depression, issues in life because you know it's
Exactly. Exactly. And I talk to patients about, or clients rather, about feeling grateful. And we talk about this all the time and, make these gratitude lists. But again, like we don't wake up and say, thank goodness I can blink. Thank goodness I can move my arm.
yeah, no, but that's so true.
Right. And to the person who, has a broken arm or is blind or whatever it may be, we just expect that we can shrug our shoulders, silly things, but everyday motions that we just take advantage of. So I use that, and I think it's pretty synonymous with what you're saying as well.
I agree. Something else you said at the beginning of our podcast recording today was tiny habits or micro movements. You said something to that effect. And I think people hear habits and they think habits are hard or they're hard to there's this myth that like it takes 30 days or whatever it is. What do you know what it is? 30 days to crack a habit or change a habit. In reality that's not true.
There's just in years prior, I had a different career in sales, and we used to say it takes 8 months to fully break a habit. So I think that's pretty subjective.
Yeah, agreed. 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 I think same thing with routine. I think I have a handful of clients that will get like cringe feelings when I say we have to change a routine or we have to change
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what I what I they have a reaction to it. And what I notice is never explained to them until I am able to sit with them, meaning like anytime they've heard it in the past, they haven't had it framed this way. Routine doesn't have to mean rigidity. Habits don't have to be hard. We can examine what might be getting in the way, and we can just lean into or gently cradle practicing being someone that we want to be. So, who do I want to practice being this year is a better way of who am I changing myself into?
And why do I have to change myself into something? Yeah, I think that's awesome.
It's January culture. January culture pressures people to rush into transformation. That's what we hear all the time, which is why
It
I get so
fails so
like
quickly.
yeah, it failed. Not only does it fail so quickly, but every time I see this, I'm the I'm the person looking at socials and people's posts, and I'm like, really, guys, this is the angle we're going.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Oh my god, I think there's like an unspoken belief that you have to reinvent yourself immediately, and that rest equals laziness and slowness equals failure. And I just think that that's completely wrong.
And sitting around enjoying family is unproductive. It's just these myths that we have been driven to believe. And why can't we stop and dispel the myth?
Well, I think that's where we come in. We come in to show that sustainability or sustainable change happens gradually. It's not aggressive. And that's how we try to teach our clients at Root and Rise that we can do micro shifts, micro movements, micro gratitudes to be able to build upon that.
And I think it's important also, like I was talking about before with physicality and waking up and being thankful that you can blink. We have to give the client context. So we have to use some things in their lives because I find that they put off really doing this and say, I love my wife, I love my dog, I love my house, I like my job. And that's the end of it. And we got to slow it down for them.
Oh, they can love all that stuff, but does that mean that their nervous system is regulated?
Right. And I think that should be immediate education
Absolutely.
everywhere.
So so here's two things that our listeners can ask themselves when they're making their goals. Does this goal feel supportive or punishing? Could this goal be accomplished on my hardest day? And if those answers are no, like is this goal supportive? No. Is this something I can do on my hardest day? No. Then it's too much. Then we have to change the way that this is being framed. We have to change either the goal or we have to break it down into smaller bites.
Right. Right. I think that's great. I think those questions are great.
Well, I mean, I think you Julie, for those who are new to our channel, Julie's an excellent teacher. And one of
Thank
the
you.
things that you're welcome. One of the things that she is excellent at doing, it's breaking things down into tiny, boring, repeatable actions that
Yeah.
help create overhaul, right? So we don't need these dramatic overhauls. She has been able to teach individuals, including myself, how to break down things into a way that is digestible. And with that, have been able to experience this, and clients that have worked with her are able to experience that these overhauls are the ones that they do with her, working with her, and the way that she teaches and breaks things down are better than these dramatic overhauls that they attempt to do without support. So, an example of one that might apply to the general public: instead of working out 5 times a week, let's move our bodies any type of way just twice a week. Just twice a
Just
week.
sounds so much more palatable. And like,
It's,
yeah, I can do that.
yeah,
They
of
just don't
course.
take time to recognize the small tasks. So we have to remind them of the feeling, I think, is the most important. So they remember, I can feel this way. And even at my desk,
Hmm.
it has to
Hmm.
be broken down that much.
I
You're
do.
right
And I
on.
think breaking that down and also building repair into the plan, I mean, like teaching people how to come back after they fall off without shame is game changing. So falling off isn't failure, quitting is optional. Like we can we can change this up, and this can be something that we do very, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say tangible, but it's in that same realm of words. It's
That we,
something that you're applicable, I guess, is maybe the word I'm looking for. You
okay.
can make it more applicable to your day. So the way that I teach people to change some habits, I ask them to tell me about what their day is, right? Take me through a whole day, and let's find little places that we can marry that little habit that you want to introduce for 2026 with one that already exists from 2025, so that you have a better shot at completing it and also building it into your day.
What if you get I don't know how much time we have. I get a resistancy when I say that because they think they just poo poo it. They think,
Okay.
come on, that's not a real, I'm not doing that. I'm not counting that.
Counting what? Like, give me an example.
Taking my dog for a long walk after work.
What's long? That would be my first question. What's long?
Right. We got to define it. Half hour.
A half-hour walk. They have and what I'm hearing you say is that they can't attach a habit to the half-hour walk, or they can't make the half-hour walk.
I think they can't attach something because they don't see the immediate benefit.
Okay, so I'll take an example of when you started to introduce walking into your life. Um, you love to photography, right? So if you were my client, I would say, "Oh, you wanna be able to shoot more, so you're gonna pair your walks with being able to shoot impromptu on those walks. And you're gonna use your camera on your phone because it's accessible, you don't need to lug all your stuff around, let's just make this really doable. And you're just gonna do whatever walk feels good for your body in that moment. We can shoot for half an hour, but I want you to listen to your body first, and then you're gonna see how many things on your walk speak to you so that you and then next week, you're gonna tell me how many photos you've taken between this session and next time I see you."
That's fair. I think that's great. I think it's setting up time. It's making them accountable, myself accountable. And if I choose not to do it, there has to be a reason why. And we
Right,
can deal with that as well.
exactly, right. What I said a little earlier was, what's getting in the way? What's getting
Exactly.
in the way of that, right? So success isn't never missing, it's returning to the activity without self-attack, right? That's success. So you how often can we reframe things that we've attempted in a different way? Because I think society, and maybe even some people's upbringing, has shown them that falling off is failure when it's not.
That's right. That's right. It has to be some social wave of a change because people jump onto things quickly.
100%, 100%. I mean, the other thing that I see that people miss in their resolution making is they're not taking into account what has to be stabilized before they launch these resolutions. So like if their life is a complete dumpster fire and they're like, I'm going to shoot for this goal, how are we going to obtain that goal when your life is a effing mess? You know? So it's like
Yes. Yes.
we have to focus on regulation before optimization, folks.
That's true. That's true. Yep. Is there an acronym that we have here?
Regulation before optimization? I don't know. Maybe we can make one for next episode.
Okay, okay.
A regulated system sustains change. Burnout only resists it, right? So if you're burnt out, there's no capacity for change. I mean, to you and I, that's no brainer. We know that, but we still find ourselves in those patterns ourselves, even though we know better.
Of course, because 'cause we're human. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think frequently we do start to use the skills that we're teaching so that we can authentically pass it on.
Absolutely.
And you don't wanna agree with your therapist in going out and seeing 5 things and hearing 4 things, and then it's like he or she doesn't know what they're talking about, and then you do it. You're like, "Oh, yeah, that did work."
I always like brace myself sometimes when I hear a client saying, "Oh, I heard you in my voice." And I'm like, "Oh shit, what'd I say?" I heard you in my head. What did I say? What did I tell me what I said before? I don't know if this is a good thing. What did I actually, I mean, how did you remember I said it? I just want to
Right,
make sure we're
right.
on the same page.
It's
you know,
hysterical.
I get a
Yeah.
little like, oh no. Oh, did I say that? I might have said it.
Yeah.
I think some of my clients are a little shocked when they hear some of the things I say. Uh,
I think most people are.
yeah, well, true, true. So when it comes to other things that I feel are things to address in the new year is toxic positivity. Have you ever heard what toxic positivity is, Jules?
Yes, I have heard it. I think it would be helpful for you to explain it.
Okay, so the way that I understand toxic positivity, it's the pressure to stay upbeat, grateful, or optimistic at the expense of acknowledging real emotion,
Mhm.
real challenges, or limitations. So I'll tell you a few phrases that this sounds like, right? Uh, just think positive. Everything will happen. Everything happens for a reason. At least it's not worse. Good vibes only. I hate that one.
Right?
Uh, and you need to manifest harder. I hate that one too. So
Why do you think people jump to that? Because they don't know?
I
Or
think they don't know it's harmful, and why it's harmful is it invalidates someone's experience, right? It invalidates a real experience. It teaches people to suppress emotions instead of process them. And you could have a really shitty day or really shitty news and go through those feelings and not be a negative Nancy. You know what I mean? You could just go through real change. And I'm sure, we've experienced this in a lot of different ways and still have the light of hope on and not have to address it in the moment of feeling your experience.
yes, I agree. And this just has to be taught and practiced between sessions every day.
Agreed. I think education is important. There's a lot of misinformation out on social media and in the world. We hear a lot of our language, our industry's language being tossed around without real understanding of that language.
All the time.
Yeah. And I think it's
I'm so
important to
depressed. I'm so anxious. This is so OCD of me, right? Oh, I think I have PTSD from the way the guy slammed the door. You know,
the one I hate the most? I'm
which
just
one?
gonna share like what kind of attachment disorder do I have?
It's so funny. I get wanting to know, but we have to teach people to think differently, right? Not
Also,
not not
like know what
give
it
themselves.
means.
Yes, that would be important as well.
Know what it means. Know what it means.
Uh,
Toxic
uh,
positivity does not heal, it silences. Number one, that's what people need to understand. Real mental health allows room for joy, grief, hope, and frustration all at once.
right, which I find also is something that we have to slow people down to, and to be aware that you can be angry and still love someone at the same time. And these things, these feelings can coexist if you are aware of it. So these things have to be taught.
Yeah, because I feel like it bypasses people's pain, like similar to when we see these devastating things on the news and people are they trip over themselves to get to their freaking status update so they can say sending prayers and hope. Thanks so much.
Yep,
That's super fucking helpful.
exactly, exactly. So do you think that's like reprioritizing something bigger than what it is, or
I think people have to take a second, like you said, slow down. Slow down, be present, allow room for all of the mixed bag that life really is. What healthy positivity looks like instead of the toxic ones that I've mentioned before is acknowledging reality without judgment, allowing those mixed emotions, that mixed bag,
And
encouraging.
hearing so many yes buts, yes buts, yes buts, yes buts.
What do I tell you?
That's natural what people do.
I tell yes and I make them
Okay.
change it to and. Yes, and you do this too. So you're
Yes,
like, I don't know. Yes, you
I
do.
didn't compare the 2. You're right,
You
yeah,
know, you
you're
know.
right.
So we're going to offer compassion without bypassing pain. You know what? You could also have a difference in opinion and not fight about it.
Exactly, exactly.
So
Yeah,
I think yes, you're 100% right. We have to teach more, which is the point of the podcast, and it's also the point of having these real conversations and saying some of the things that not every therapist says out loud. I think there's a sterile perception of what therapy is, and maybe I think people have even experienced that sterile environment. I can't think of another word. Cauterized is one that comes to mind, but
yeah,
I don't think they're getting outside of that blank slate clinical approach. I think individuals, when I think they eventually get to us, they're a little surprised at how honest we are.
exactly, exactly, and they start to see the value of putting this time into themselves. Not, "I just wanna learn this quickly and start being this way," because life doesn't work that way. That's why
100%.
therapy is so important.
It is. And New Year's resolutions should be approached in a kinder way. So, you don't need a new year, you need a kinder strategy, you know?
So, you may have mentioned this in the beginning, but instead of calling it resolutions, let's call it
Who
what's
do
a
you want to
better.
practice? I don't know. I don't know the word I would use for it. Maybe our listeners could write in about it, but I think we need a different phrase.
Right,
Would, instead of new year, new me, like, say to yourself, who do I want to practice being this year? Who do I want to practice being this year? Because that's exactly what it is. It's practice.
it's
It's
practice.
practice, you
Yes,
know?
instead of staying stuck in your belief and your action, which keeps you stuck in,
Exactly.
you know,
And
in
progress.
anger, in grief, in anxiety, all of it.
And the other misconception about progress is I feel that my clients and others that I have shared this topic with believe that progress sometimes requires suffering. And I don't buy that at all. I think progress doesn't require suffering. Change works best when it feels safe, not
Yes,
forced.
absolutely. I agree with you. And, yeah, I would ask them to reframe what that means.
All
Thinking
right.
that imagine thinking about what kind of pain it's gonna be and perseverating over that and learning how to be okay with that versus getting to the root of what the issue is, like putting a Band-Aid onto something. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the takeaways for today's episode is you don't need a new year, you need a realistic plan. Change does not require a dramatic reset. It requires goals that actually fit your life. Goals rooted in shame don't create growth. If your resolution starts with I hate that I'm like this, that's not motivation, that's self-punishment.
And if a goal that ignores your capacity becomes emotional debt, that's a time to really think.
Absolutely. Your nervous system matters more than your willpower. You can't force consistency when your body feels overwhelmed or unsafe. So regulation has to come before motivation. And like Julie I guess, applauding you for the small ways in which you exact change by teaching the way that you teach and breaking things into smaller, boring, more repeatable actions. They beat big dramatic results. Sustainable change isn't impressive. It's doable.
Absolutely. And we can create fun ways to make these things happen. Like singing a song and pairing that with taking your meds after you drink water after a song. Like these can be fun things. Therapy isn't just staring at each other and talking. And, you know, it should be required.
Exactly. It absolutely should be a requirement. So for today's episode, the final rewrap here is you can reset anytime. The secret's out. January 1 is not the only day you can reset. There's no deadline to becoming more aligned.
Amen, sister.
Thanks for joining us today, guys.